Good day, summoners! For those of you who are new to RiftBound like myself, we'll be going over what's going on with the scene right now. Those of you may know that the Shanghai National Open happened last week, which has caused a kind of understanding of what the Set 1 meta shall be. We've Set 2 coming out very soon for China. I believe it's 3 to 4 weeks from now. This being essentially the last big hurrah for this set before we get some new cards coming in the next few weeks. But something else happened over this last weekend, which was the Western release of RiftBound, which I did miss the Friday event, but I did get to pick up some packs on the Saturday and have a interesting time with someone who's already built 2 full powered decks before I even had a chance to open 1 regular structure deck. But this does mean that we have 2 essentially high powered decks in the format, which is Kai'Sa, Daughter of the Void, as well as Master Yi, Wuju Master. Both of these cards do counter each other out in the sense that they don't share any similarities between each other. One is an aggro red blue deck, which has a good damage to spell ratio, keeping you sort of in momentum or trying to keep your opponent off the play. Or Master Yi, on the other hand, has a more aggressive build and go playstyle, which has done them fairly well, especially with the likes of cards such as Dead Bloom Predator, the White Flame Protector, and if all else fails, a Zhonya's Hourglass, just to keep the game going a bit longer. Whereas the Kai'Sa deck is running more of a get rid of the town now situation with Cleaves, Hextech Rays, Falling Stars, and of course the 1 or 2 of Catfian Rain, which for those who don't know is actually her own signature move in the game. But you're probably wondering, Agito, why are you making a video about League today? And that is essentially because I like League. Like most people like League, to a degree. Maybe not playing it, but lore is cool, and I very much would have liked a Legends of Runeterra physical card game, but RiftBound will do for me. But the reason we're here today is to look at the prices of what's going on. And yes, I do understand that for the most part, product is very scarce and sparse at the moment. So trying to get yourself anything is just very hard and difficult. And I understand that people out there are going to say, hey, you know, the reason why prices are inflated is because people are buying all the product up and there's nothing to open or crack, and this is not really fair. There's also been a big debunk through RiftBound community where I believe one of the producers has said essentially, so some of the rares and possibly even the epics are having an issue where they aren't balancing out in boxes. I think someone was able to get themselves 6 cases, which you do you. Crack them open and have said, hey, look, you know, we've gone through the boxes ourselves and the ratios are off. So that can put prices, especially if it's the rares of the good cards that you want to see. Now, one thing that Riot has done unintentionally, I believe, is none of the cards have a perfect PSA quality to them that will be good down the line for grading, which does help with removing people wanting to pick these cards up to grade or to scavenge for themselves. There's obviously the signature cards out there, which are essentially your, you know, whale points. But nonetheless, I think everything else otherwise is here to be played with, and I'm hoping that people do look at these as playable pieces and not as collectible pieces, because we don't want anything like Pokemon has in terms of a game that's meant to be a playable card game rather than a collectible card game. Go chase the signatures if that's what you want. But looking at the top cards in this set currently, we have Time Warp, which I do believe has absolutely shot up over the weekend from a measly £22 up into the £50 mark. Now, take a turn after this one, banish this. If you've played Magic, you will know that any sort of time skip, time warp, temporal phase, or whatever they're called in Magic, very powerful card. 9 times out of 10, the reason you use this card is because you can't win this turn, but you know that next turn you can win, especially if your opponents can't fight back. Seen play as a 2 of in the winning Kai'Sa deck, you can understand why people are picking this up now while they can, but again, the prices has essentially doubled over the weekend, but not many cards have been taken up off the market, making me think that people may have seen the results in the week before and have pushed the price up a little bit more, which, you know, people will do. The main activist in this deck as well is Kai'Sa Survivor, which has become a £42 card. Now, for the most part, this card has kept its price point fairly high over the weekend of release, from 60 down to 45, then back up to 50 again. So there is that issue for a lot of people. Kai'Sa Survivor is only being played at between a 2 to 3 of. It's not necessarily a 3 of in every deck, but in the winning deck list itself, it did come up as a 2 of only, so hopefully that makes it a bit easier for people who don't want to spend £150 on a deck and only want to spend £100 on a deck. But wait, there's obviously more. For those who like Master Yi's playstyle, or any deck that wants to play the Body Ruins, then your go-to card would be more of a Dead Bloom Predator, which is generally a 1-of in most of these decks, but occasionally is a 2-of. It's one of those cards you don't really want to find too quickly, but you want to find at some point during your gameplay. This, though, has been a quite expensive card at the start of the weekend, going down to as low as 25, and then back up again to around the £50 mark. Again, it could just be an issue where some of the epics are just harder to get hold of, product is a bit sparse. We will be getting more at the end of January according to Riot themselves, but until then, you are playing in one of the probably one priciest meta points you're going to play in, generally around the pre-release era, and unfortunately we will have to go through this here. White Flame Protector, also being played in the Master Yi deck, has had a bit of a spike over the weekend. It was as low as £15 on Saturday, but has steadily climbed up to the £32, making it more of a people picking this up as more of a preempt to any green deck that might want this in the future, as there are other green decks currently in the format that are doing fairly well. Looking at the likes of Ori pushing the game forwards in her own dazzling way. Speaking of dazzling Aura, which is being played in some of these decks as well, not necessarily as a common piece in these decks, generally more as a secondary win condition that seems to be pushing forwards. Nonetheless, Master Yi is using this card as a tech choice, as a free of. And at the current £32 price point, which surprisingly isn't being held down by the UK crowd now, it's actually being held down by a lot of the other European regions. It's just funny to see that the UK isn't actually keeping the price in check. But that said, it was at one point a £70 card, and now steadily trickling down towards the 30 mark. Hopefully seeing this down towards maybe a £25 mark by the end of the week, if we're looking with any product that's sort of left out there getting cracked open, but again is a fairly large purchase point. But overall, there are a few cards out there that are keeping prices high as well. Thousand Tail Watcher has come up in the Kaiser decks as well as any other blue deck that's trying to push forwards, keeping its price point around about the £22 to £25 mark. Nonetheless, though, we are still technically in the pre-release era of this game, and with Wave 2 of Set 1 coming out in the new year, hopefully time will tell about pushing things through. Now, Riot has said that with the issues we've received in Set 1, there's nothing they can do about it in Set 2. Presumably, it's already at print or has already been printed, and they're essentially just boxing it up and getting it sent out to distributors in the next few weeks. Set 3 will be the time to see things happening. Now, if you know me here, I am a man who loves the Darken. So hopefully, in Set 3, we can see some Darken action. But I'll take a Brom, or maybe even something a bit more fun like a Skarner in Set 3 down the road, as I do enjoy my supports and other junglers while we can. So, thank you for being here today, guys. Looking at the price of cards going up and down currently. Again, if you have a locals that has any of these in here, don't just buy the whole shelf out, but do play and support the card game going forwards. And I will see you guys shortly. And if you are down at the Bristol event for OP this weekend, come say hello and I'll see you there. And then maybe join us for some games of RiftBound once I go 3-0 during the event.